All right, before we get into the sharpening portion of the video, just wanted to take a minute or two and kind of give you my thoughts on this. This is a 8-inch or approximately 8-inch chef's knife that was made by Aaron Johnson. It's in CPM Magnacut. And he did a really nice job overall of making this. The finish and the fit of the handle and all that, really nice. He mentioned to me that he didn't put a mirror or polished finish on it just because Magnacut's so hard to polish. He left a kind of a satin belt finish. I actually prefer that myself. The handle's really nicely shaped. When I first got it, if I'm honest, I was kind of concerned about just the size of the handle. Normally I'm used to something a little bit longer. The diameter's about right, but as I've been using it for the last 3 months, it's absolutely no issue. It actually fits my hand really nicely. Very comfortable, no hot spots. I've been using it enough, I don't know if you can see it, but getting some chipping. I don't know what he's using for the clear on there, but you can't really feel it. It's just smoothed over. I've probably in the last 2.5 months put about 6 or 7 months of use on this. So all the knives that I normally use in my rotation I've set aside, and I've just been using this. And I gotta say that there's always new steels that are coming out, and normally in pocket knives, folders, I buy them and expecting quite a bit out of them, and there's a little bit of a performance boost, but over your standard simple steels, but normally it's kind of lackluster. With this, compared to really any kitchen knife that I've ever had, the edge retention on this stuff is just phenomenal. I've never had a kitchen knife that would hold an edge quite like this. And when I got it, like I said, he did a really nice job on the finishing it. There was no scratches or anything like that like you're seeing here. I did that just from sharpening it, but he had a real nice thin bevel that he put on there, gauging by the size of the bevel and the thickness of the blade, which is 9 or 10 thou behind the edge. Probably somewhere between 18 and 20 degrees he sharpened it. I was going to kind of leave it at that and just use it for a while, but curiosity kind of got the better of me. And I wanted to sharpen this like I would my Hitachi steels, the Shiogami, Aogami steels, white and blue steels. Those are very fine grain, high rock welding steels, very hard, and they'll take a really acute edge. They don't have a lot of carbide in them. Well, they don't have any carbide in them. But just you can sharpen them at a very acute angle. And the edge retention, as long as you're not doing anything too wonky with it, you're using a nice, good wood cutting board or one of the new rubber cutting boards, the edge retention is pretty decent. I was curious if I could sharpen this steel at 8 or 9 degrees, and would it hold it like one of those other steels? And so far I'm just absolutely blown away. When I sharpened this, I basically sat it down as flat as I could to where it was starting to work its way up the main bevel of the knife. So I backed it off probably about a degree or so and tried to keep it there. And I'm guessing it's around 8 or 9. It might be 10 degrees, but it's a pretty acute angle. You can see, and this is 9, 10 thou behind the edge, and you can see that it's got a real big wide fat bevel here. And I don't have any micro bevel. That's where the bevel's set. And like I said, so far I've been using this for about 2.5 months. I've put I got a lot of hours of use with this so far. And any other steel, even some of the decent steels I have, like Hat 40 and stuff, which takes a really good edge, the carbon, high-speed tool steel, that normally lasts me a month or two in between sharpenings, and I can feel by month 2, month 3, it really needs sharpening. I sharpen this, and I got to the point where on my cutting board, it was literally after that front end sharpness was gone, I would do things like take 50 chopping strokes or 100 chopping strokes just on a bare cutting board just to see if I could dull it a little bit. And even after I did that, basically on a daily basis for a month, I could still take a paper towel and just slice through it in one slice. I mean, this is pop an arm hair sharp. You know, just I've never seen a steel perform like that. So I know it's good steel, but I'm sure, you know, his heat treat process probably had something to do with that. Overall, I'm really happy with the knife. I'm, you know, very thankful that, you know, he was kind enough to not only make it and give it to me. I mean, he paid for the shipping and the whole works. You know, I tried to offer him, you know, sending him some money to kind of help cover the cost. He's like, nope, I'm gonna send it to you on me. So I mean, it's not every day that you see that kind of generosity by somebody that you really don't know. You know, I know him just by talking to him on YouTube and email. That's about it. He's a super nice guy, and you know he knows what he's doing when it comes to making knives. So, anyways, Aaron, thank you for the knife. I've been using it, like I said, every day, and I plan on using it for many years. All right, well, I'm gonna get on to the sharpening video now. All right, today I'm gonna be sharpening up 8-inch chef's knife in Magnacut. This particular one was made by Aaron Johnson. The last time I sharpened it, I used the Shapton Pros or the Koramaku stones, as well as the Nanoa Professional. Edge came out really well. You know, I was thinking about switching over and trying one of my diamond plates, maybe a Veneve, even silicon carbide stones, and I decided to go with the Shapton glass. These are the HR glass stones, not the HC, not to be confused. And these normally work, in my opinion, better for the slightly higher alloy steels than the Pros or the Koramaku stones. So these are softer overall, and you can tell that when you're using them. Also, if you're leveling them, so they tend to release abrasive a little faster, and they cut a little bit faster. Whereas the Pros and the Koramakus are a bit harder. With that being said, these stones are a bit on the denser side, if that makes any sense, compared to the Pros and the Koramaku. So just using regular old tap water. Always put at least a little bit of dish soap in there to kind of help release or break the surface tension, especially on the splash and go stones. This is just under 15 mic, 1000 grit. Now, normally when I'm sharpening, say a softer or a lower alloy stainless, you know, a little on the softer side, when you start using these stones, they turn jet black immediately, and they cut so quickly, especially if they've been freshly, you know, if they've just been leveled. And you can see on this that I'm actually having to use a little bit of force to get the abrasives in this stone to cut properly. If I'm using no force at all, you'd barely be seeing any of the steel being removed. So it's a bit on the slower side, but this is kind of what I want. This is, you know, I've sharpened a lot of knives on water stones, and I can tell right off the bat if it's going to take a good edge, if the stone and the steel are just kind of a good combo, and I can tell that I feel pretty confident that it's going to take a really good edge off these stones. The knife, when I got it from Aaron, had you know, the grinds on it were nice and clean. There's no scratches or anything, and he had a nice, even, clean bevel on there, really sharp. I wanted to drop that down to a much lower, much more acute angle, just to see if it would hold it like my high carbon Japanese kitchen knives. You know, in the process, I kind of scratched it up a little bit, you know, lowering it so much down to 8, 9 degrees, 10 degrees. It's obviously, even though this is very thin behind the edge, it's really widening the bevel out. any lower and I would be basically scraping up the entire side of the knife, which I don't want to do. Now, a quick note, if you do add a little bit of soap to the water, don't go overboard with it. If you add too much, it just turns everything slimy, and you can actually be kind of dangerous. Your hands slipping around on the blade and you can slice yourself, which I've done many times over the years. I've got a pretty fine burr worked up. Last time I sharpened this, I was amazed at how easy it was to sharpen. I mean, it's like the burr just fell off. I've got this set up a little bit higher than usual, so it's like mid-level on my waist, so a little bit awkward for me, but trying to make it work. The blade itself was in good enough shape where it didn't feel necessary to go any coarser than 1,000 grit on these glass stones. Like I said, they're a bit softer and they cut pretty quick. Even though this is a bit higher alloy steel than I normally sharpen for my kitchen knives, it's still, I mean, I got a full burr worked up, no problem. So it's cutting them plenty fast. I've sharpened some pretty high alloy steels on these glass stones, you know, K390, M390, Magnacut, stuff like that. While they may not be optimal for the really high alloy steels, they still work. I think next time I sharpen this, I'll probably try the Gritomatic 6 stones I got. I really like those. They work well for these types of steels. Now I've worked a burr up, flipped it, worked a burr up, so it's fully apexed. Now I'm just going to kind of grind away very lightly, reducing the pressure as I go, trying to grind that burr down, flip it, weaken it, fatigue it, hoping that it falls off kind of on its own, which it seemed to last time. This is probably one of the easiest steels I've ever sharpened, and I don't have a lot of sharpening experience under my belt with Magnacut. So far it's been pretty good steel to sharpen. I mean, yeah, that's crazy. There's just no burr left on there. Doesn't feel like it. If there is, it's very fine. I'm used to sharpening some cheaper, you know, lower end $40–50 budget steels or below that, and that's what I normally use just for my everyday beaters. And very soft, low alloy stainless steels. You got to really work to get any kind of burr off. These quality steels like this, the burr just, God, it's night and day. Yeah, wow. You can still, I mean, there's obviously some burr there, but it's, wow, does that deburr quick. Unreal. I'm going to take some more really light passes before I'm going to go into a 4K. I mean, I could actually stop on this 1K the way it is right now, and it'd be more than adequate for just everyday use. I mean, it's sharp right now, but I'm going to go to a 4K and then probably strop it on some really hard bare horsehide. Yeah, I can really tell that this steel likes these stones. I mean, it's just... All right, enough of that. Mm-hmm. 4,000, just under 4 mic Shapton glass. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not. I did recently level these stones, so they're cutting really, really well. If you're using these, you know, any type of waterstone on a little bit harder steels, if it feels like it's just kind of sliding over, not doing anything, use a little bit more force, and that way you get the abrasives in the stone to bite a little bit deeper, cut a little faster. Well, I've sharpened the last steel I sharpened on here that was really high alloy was I think it was S90, S90V, S110. This feels like I'm sharpening that. Some hard stuff. I'm really lightening up on the pressure. Probably 6 to 8 ounces is what I'm shooting for. You start getting much below that, it starts kind of gets hard to control the angle of the knife. Yeah. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I think I've got the edge where I want it. I'm just going to take some very light edge trailing passes. Now, I normally prefer this, edge trailing as opposed to edge leading on most water stones. I find that if I do edge leading, I look at it under real high magnification, I can see, swarf, abrasive kind of embedded in there, and that's 1,000 and above magnification. Also, I see what appears to be damage to the edge, little chipping, micro chipping, whatever you want to refer to it as. Whereas opposed to stropping, leaves a bit of a foil edge on it, like just a very fine microscopic burr. But that's easily mitigated, just doing some stropping. You can use a cork, pull through there and shear it off, especially with a good steel like this. I find that stropping for the end strokes usually gives me a better edge, a sharper edge, keener edge overall. So. Now I'm using very, very light, just the lowest amount of force I can possibly use. I'm trying to get the angle as close as I can. If you're too low, too acute, you're just going to be polishing the shoulder. It's not going to do anything. If you're too high, too obtuse, then obviously that's not good. You're going to be hitting right on the apex, or very close to it. Man, it just takes such a nasty edge right off the stone. That's wet when it's doing that, so. Let me grab a little piece of paper here before I move on to the strop. I mean, that is like a freaking laser, man. Whew. I mean, that absolutely needs no stropping, but I'll do it anyways, just to see if I can improve a little bit. But man, that is just absolutely nasty. He did a really, really good job on that heat treat. I know the steel's good. I've sharpened a couple knives, but man, this thing just takes a nasty ass edge. I mean, just wow. What I want to make sure is that there's no abrasives. I don't want to be stropping on this and embedding abrasives in the leather. I want it to be as clean as possible. Grab something real quick. grab some hairs out of the vacuum, nasty as that is. I don't think it's quite hair whittling, but it might be. I mean, it felt pretty damn sharp, so. If I sat there and took my time, I have no doubt that I could get this to whittle hair. But I'm suspecting there's probably still, oh, well, that's pretty sharp, actually. This is a pretty thin hair here, too. I can hear it giving that little tinging feedback, so it's right on the edge. It just, but we'll fix that here. So with a little bit of effort, it'll pop a hair, kind of whittle it. But this should really give it that extra 1 or 2 little percent at the end that will really pick up that keenness. Now I'm starting out with fairly light pressure. Let me see if I can give you an idea here. May or may not show on this, but so when I'm starting off here, I'm using 8, 9, 10 ounces. It's showing 9 ounce, and then as I'm lightening up, I want to get down to about 3 or 4 ounces, which that's 4, 6, 5. If that gives you any kind of an idea of what I like to finish on. If I could get it down to 1 or 2 ounces, I would, but I'd be holding on to it so light that I wouldn't be able to really control it. All right, grab the hair out of the old vacuum. Let's see where we're at. This one's pretty fine here. You can see it's just topping through very fine hairs. Very sharp now. Hear how quiet that is. That's all there is to that. Nice and sharp. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching. If you got any comments, please feel free to leave them below.